welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 31st January 2025. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So let us see the first article, guys. So see the title of this first article. Okay, so this article is saying about two important things. First one is Election Commission asks Kejriwal evidence for poisoning of river Yamuna. So what are the images that you can see on the screen? It is about some foam which came on this Yamuna. So as you all know that, so most of the rivers which are present in India, they are polluted. So here we are going to discuss about this pollution of river Yamuna. Okay, so what are the keywords that you have to see? So first important keyword is Election Commission and next one is River Yamuna. So these are the two important keywords which are given in your topic. So here Election Commission is part of your GS paper 2 under polity. So in polity, if you are reading your M. Lakshmikant book, you will be coming across a chapter called as elections. Okay, elections, election commission. So actually it is a constitutional body, and even in this constitutional body you will be studying about this Election Commission of India. Okay, so here what are the things that you have to see? You have to see first one, that is constitutional provisions, like which are the articles related to this election commission of India in our country. So here article 324 starts with this. So you have to see till which article it will end and which article talks about which provisions, you have to know about that. And second one is you have to see about members of Election Commission of India. For example, we have Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners. So one will be Chief Election Commissioner and we have two election commissioners. Okay, so we have three members. And you have to see appointment process of these people. And you have to see eligibility criteria, who are eligible to become election commissioner. And you have to see reappointment, whether they are eligible for reappointment or not. And even you have to see powers and functions of election commission. So apart from that, even at the state level we have state election commission. So you have to see about members of state election commission and what are the functions, and you have to see difference between ECI and as well as state election commission. And actually nowadays, so this topic is in news, like how can this Election Commission of India ensure free and fair elections? Because in a lot of times we will be seeing rigging will be in news, and voter turnout is decreasing, and even there are some allegations on election. What are the infrastructure they are using? For example, voting machines. So because of all these things, you have to see how Election Commission of India is ensuring free and fair elections in our country. So if you cover all these things, that is enough. Okay, now let us see about river Yamuna. So river Yamuna, it is one of the most polluted river in our country. And this river Yamuna comes under our Himalayan river system because it is tributary of river Ganga. So here you have to see about what are the important causes for pollution of this river Yamuna. And next you have to see about important tributaries of this river Yamuna. And next you have to see through which states it flows. That means you have to know entire geography of this river Yamuna and even environmental regarding concerns of river Yamuna. So why on this river Yamuna we are seeing this foam, everything which is floating on that? It is because of highly pollutants which are discharged by industries. And one more important thing that you have to see is why this river Yamuna is in news. So recently one political party alleged that from Haryana onwards, the water in this Yamuna is poisonous. So some poison had been mixed in this river Yamuna. So because of that statement, now Election Commission asked that yes, we need to want evidence regarding that statement which made by a political party. So because of this, Election Commission and as well as river Yamuna is in news. So now let us see this article in detail. So if you see context, it says that Haryana government filed a case against a political party leader in Judicial Magistrate Court under Disaster Management Act because they said that Yamuna water from Haryana contained poison. So because of that statement made by a political leader, so Haryana government filed a case. And now here election commission had been interviewed, and it said that yes, what is evidence behind that statement? So that is the thing which mainly seen in the news. So now let us see details regarding this complaint. So this complaint had been filed under section 54 of Disaster Management Act of 2005. And this section 54 says that yes, punishment for creating false alarms about disaster, and the punishment will be up to 1 year imprisonment or fine, both. And this one here is sections 353 and 356 of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, which says about public mischief and defamation. So on this also this complaint had been filed. And next one here is now even election commission also involved. Election commission which is asking for the evidence regarding the claim, asking for a factual and legal basis, on what basis that political party leader gave this statement. So because of this it is alarming. Okay, so now let us see some facts regarding this Disaster Management Act. So this Disaster Management Act which came up in year 2005, because in 2004 one deadly disaster which happened in India, that is tsunami. So because of that tsunami, it was like very deadly as that our southernmost tip, that is Indira Point, had been submerged underwater. So at that time onwards we realized that yes, we need to be well prepared for the disasters. So at that time government came up with this Disaster Management Act of 2005 and was passed by the government of India in 2005 for efficient management of disasters and other matters which are related to disasters in India. And finally it came into force from 2006 January onwards. So what are the objectives? First one is we have to manage disasters, and we have to include preparedness for our mitigation strategies and capacity building. And yesterday's class we discussed about government came up with a proposal for mitigation of disasters like lightning. Okay, so in that way you have to connect where it has been linked. It has been linked to Disaster Management Act of 2005. And what is the definition of disaster? So section 2 of Disaster Management Act. So this act which states that a disaster means a catastrophe or a mishap or a calamity or a grave occurrence in any area. So it mainly arises because of natural, or it may be man-made or artificial causes. So disaster is not like which caused only naturally, but even man-made causes also cause disasters. And what are the main features of this act? So this act which designates Ministry of Home Affairs as nodal ministry. So which ministry will be taking care of disasters in India? That is Ministry of Home Affairs. You have to remember that. And even it came up with some structures at the national level, at state level, at the district level, so that we can properly mitigate and we can properly address these disasters. So which are the important structures at the national level? I think you might have heard about this National Disaster Management Authority, NMDA. So it will lay down the policies, and it will be also ensuring proper mechanisms regarding this disaster. And apart from that, we are also having National Executive Committee. So it is under section 8 of this act, and it will be focusing on the functions of authority. That is how this NMDA is functioning, whether it is functioning or not. If there are any questions, so this committee will be taking care of that functioning of NMDA. And next one here is we are also having National Institute of Disaster Management. So here, if you want to mitigate and if you want to participate in the disaster relief or rescue, you need to have the training, right? So that training and capacity development will be given under this National Institute of Disaster Management. And even we have National Disaster Response Force as well. It refers to trained professional units. They will be participating in rescue and relief operations. So these are some institutions which are present at the national level. And at the same way, we're also having this kind of institutions at state level as well as district level. And you are the head of disaster district management authority at the district level. So you have to know about what is a machinery which is present at the district level. Clear? So these are some important things that you have to see from this article. Okay. Now let us see the next article. So title says that as number of birth falls in Tamil Nadu, concerns raised about elderly population. So this article is not a new one, but again it came in this news, so we have to discuss. So this article is talking about indirectly TFR. So what is this TFR? Total fertility rate. TFR is total fertility rate. So what is this total fertility rate? And even in 2024, there was simple prelims based question on this. What is TFR means? So TFR means nothing but in a reproductive age. Okay, in a reproductive age, how many children will be given birth by a woman is called as TFR. So normally in India, TFR is 2.1, but in southern state it had been decreased to 1.9. So in southern state it is less. That means if you are seeing the number of children, women giving birth in southern states is less compared to that of northern states. In northern states, it will be like 3, 4 like that. On average, we can say 2.1, but in southern state it had been less, that is 1.9. Okay, so here from which subject we can see? From GS paper 2 under governance point of view. So this TFR is decreased. That means it will be having impact on economy. So from GS paper 3 economy also we can see this article, and even we can see this article from GS paper 1 under geography. So what are the dimensions you have to see? From geography point of view, you can compare North India with South India. Okay, you have to see what are the geographical conditions that led to more TFR in North India. For example, North India, which is having rugged terrain compared to that of Southern India, and they don't have proper okay, so even because of this very unstable region in this North India, because of Himalayas which are present in this region, what happens? So they are environmentally unstable region. So environmentally unstable, that will leads to earthquakes, that will leads to landslides. So because of this, more deaths happens. Yes. So because of this, more deaths. So they will try to go for overproduction. So we can connect this topic with Darwin's natural selection theory. Okay, which says that overpopulation will be there in initial stages, and only the people who are surviving, they will be fit. Okay, only who are fit, they will be surviving. That is called as natural selection theory of Darwin. But in southern India, we are having mostly stable region, mostly plains and plateaus. Okay, so here in this region, even education is high, literacy level is high compared to that of North India. So it is also an important reason which is decreasing this TFR. So in this way, you have to analyze what are the important reasons for decreasing of TFR in South India compared to that of North India, geographically, environmentally, everything. And from economy point of view, you have to see about physical burden. So whenever there is increasing of old age people, all elderly people, what happens? Government need to provide social security. So here in this case, what happened? There will be increasing of burden. And even whenever there is increasing of old age people or elderly people, even there will be decreasing of economic growth. They will be not contributing to the growth because they will be not comes under working age population. So in this way, there are two dimensions you have to see from economy. And from governance point of view, so what are the steps can be taken by the government? So steps regarding how to increase TFR, and next one is steps regarding how to take care of these old age people. Okay, so all these things are very important. Now let us see this article in detail. So if you see context, it says that the declining of birth rate in Tamil Nadu has raised significant concerns regarding future demographic landscape. That means whenever there is decreasing of TFR, young age population will be decreased in future and old age population will be increasing. That is called as demographic landscape, particularly regarding an increasing of elderly population, and it is associated with obviously social and as well as economic challenges. So now let us see what are those. So first point you have to remember is there is declining of birth rate. That will lead to higher dependency ratio. That means whenever old age population will be increasing, so they will be not contributing anything because they will be not able to work because of increasing of age. There will be decreasing of muscle strength, everything. So they will be depending on their children now. So there will be increasing of dependency ratio, and even they will require some substantial support system from their family and as well as from government. So government will be providing pensions and some insurance scheme, and even you can recall about this Ayushman Bharat scheme where they are providing insurance for more than 70 years of people irrespective of their income. So all these things which we studied, right? Okay, and next one here is government need to increase social services, healthcare systems, and they have to provide some adequate care. So because of this, obviously that will leads to what strain of resources. Resources will be decreasing, and budgets of the government will be increasing. And next one is economic growth. So whenever there is increasing of aging population, that may hinder economic growth because working age population diminishes and there is less labor force to work in the economy. So because of this overall reduction of productivity of our economy and increasing of healthcare cost and increasing of higher pension liabilities. Okay, and next one here is there will be also implications on public health. So declining of birth rates, that will lead to reduction in maternal healthcare services. Okay, there will be very slow improvements in maternal mortality ratio. So recently we studied that in Kerala there is increasing of MMR. It is not on numbers, but because of decreasing of birth rate, MMR is appearing big, right? So here what happens? So whenever there is decreasing of birth rate, even there will be a problem with MMR. So because of this, it will complicate public health initiatives. So everything is interconnected, guys. So whatever we are studying in any state, if you are saying generally, so everything we can connect so that you can write a multi-dimensional answer for sure. So try to understand what I'm trying to say. Okay, so we have to take some proactive measures so that healthcare system will be taken care of. And next one here is global context also there is some impact. So whenever if you see there is a trend of decreasing of um, TFR in Tamil Nadu, even it will be appearing in global patterns as well. So the phenomenon often correlates with increased access to education, employment opportunities for women, and improved living standards. So these are the main cause why there is decreasing of TFR. So we have to understand what is the impact on the global dynamics on our state which is affecting our policies. And next one here is this article is saying that we need to focus on policy revisions. Like government need to focus on decreasing of family planning services, and government need to improve awareness about reproductive health and as well as supporting of families, and even government can give incentives for families to go for two child or three child. Okay, so that is the thing we can do now. And now let us see the next article. Title says extreme climate events impacting rain in southwest coast, says study. So this article is saying that in southwest coast. Okay, so here if you see, this is North India, this is South India, right? So this is southwest coast and southeast coast. So especially this is our equator. So normally during monsoon seasons, whenever this winds, they are crossing equator. Normally here we can see ITCZ, right? ITCZ is nothing but low pressure region. So here we will be having high pressure. So winds, they will tend to move from high pressure to low pressure, and whenever they are crossing equator in northern hemisphere, they will be moving towards right side in this way. So because of this, this article is saying that there is increased rainfall in this region. Okay, so there is increased rainfall in the southwestern coast of India. So here, because of this increased rainfall, that is also leading to increased extreme weather events. So there is increased extreme weather events. So this is a phenomena that you will be studying in your geography, right? It comes under part of southwest monsoon season. Okay. So we are not talking about monsoon here because you will be already learning about that in your geography for sure. So here we have to focus on what are these extreme weather events. Okay, now let us see this article. So India's southwest coast is seen steady rise. There is increasing of extreme rainfall events. So how much there is increasing? increasing of 0.23 mm per season according to study. So study done by Cochin University and as well as European organization. So they did some study and they said that every year there is 0.23 mm of rainfall is increasing. So especially in this year, so we saw in some areas there was never rains with floods, especially in Telangana region, in AP region. Okay, so these are some evidences that we can show that yes, there is increased extreme weather events like flash floods, etc. So now let us see in overall what are these extreme weather events with definition. So when weather conditions, they show significant differences than usual weather, it is called as extreme weather. So whatever the normal weather is there, if it is apart from normal weather, it is called as extreme weather. So these extreme weather conditions may last for a while or sometimes it may take just 1 or 2 days to become normal. So if you see some examples, we have heat wave. So what is a heat wave? Heat wave is nothing but whenever there is increasing of temperature, it is called as heat wave. And we have classification for plains, for coastal areas, for hilly areas. For plains, it is more than 40 degrees centigrade. And for hilly areas, it is 37. And like that, so you have to see what is the classification for this heat waves. And next one is we have wildfires. They're also called as forest fires or bush fires or vegetation fire. So because of increasing of temperature, because of increasing of dryness and high speed of wind. So recently in North America, so we had forest fires. So because of one local wind called as Santa Ana. So like that, here it is also one of the extreme weather change in the weather that led to the increased speed of the Santa Ana that led to the forest fires in North America. So in the same way in India also we are having these wildfires normally. And next one is drought. Drought is nothing but a prolonged dry period. So we will be not getting proper rainfall. So for example, normally on the June 1st this onset of monsoon happens. If it is not happening on June 1st and if it is delayed to 15 to 20 days, obviously we will be causing drought. And next one is cold snap. Cold snap is nothing but very sudden drop of temperature. Okay, that is called as cold snap. And next one is, especially in India, we have this tropical cyclone as a extreme weather event. And especially there is increasing of incidence of cyclones in this Arabian Sea and as well as Bay of Bengal region. So there is a rapid storms which is originating over this tropical oceans. So how this tropical cyclones form? So whenever there is increased temperature, there will be low pressure which is formed in the water. And from nearby high pressure areas, so now winds, they will try to occupy this low pressure area. And if this cyclone forms in this northern hemisphere, because of Coriolis force, the winds, they will move in right, right direction. And they'll be moving round and they will be moving towards west coast. Okay, the movement of this cyclone, if it is formed in this Bay of Bengal, is first they'll move towards west and next one is in this direction and next one is north, so that if there is any cyclone which is formed in this region, it will be affecting this coast of Tamil Nadu, AP, and as well as especially West Bengal region will be get affected because of this movement of this cyclone. And finally, it will go for landfall. So whenever landfall happens, then the cyclone will ends. Okay, so these are the things that you will be studying in your geography. Okay. And next one is torrential rain. Torrential rain is nothing but within a very short span of time, we will be having very high rainfall. And next one is floods. So normally, whenever there is very high rainfall, obviously the floods will happen. So what is the meaning of flood? For example, let us take this is a river. So river, in this river, the water will be flowing in this area. But what happens whenever the capacity of this river is decreased, the spelling of water. So water will be spelling outside this channel. So that is called as floods. So because of this, the habitations which are present near, they will be getting inundated under this water. So this phenomena is called as flood. Okay, and there is one more word that you have to know is flash flood. So normally, especially we can say this flash floods in urban areas. In urban areas, what happens? We have concrete structures like roads, we have cement roads, etc. So there is no place for seeping of water into ground. So if there is small rainfall also, what happen? If there is any clogging in drainage, the water will be overspilling on the roads. That is called as flash floods. Okay, normally we have these flash floods, and as well as tropical cyclones as extreme weather events, especially in these coastal regions and urban areas. And now let us see the next article. India heading to middle income trap. 50% of people live on rupees 150 a day, says Congress. So we are not talking about what is a political issue here, but you have to know about this word called as middle income trap. It is very important. So this concept is directly is there in your economy from GS paper 3. What is middle income trap? Middle income trap is nothing but country's economy is unable to transition into higher per capita income levels. That means so country will be stay in middle income countries only. So if you see the types of countries, we have low income countries, middle income countries and higher income countries. So this concept is between these higher income countries and middle income countries. So these middle income countries will stay in this middle income countries only. Okay, they will be not getting the status of higher income countries. That is called as middle income trap. So India is present at this area. So because of this, if you say my grandmother, my mother generation and my generation, so we are saying that India is a developing country only. So I don't know whether my kids even they will say that India is developed or not if they will be in that 2047. So actually India is having a target of getting this developed status by 2047. That means my next two generations will be saying that India is a developed country. So this is this meaning of middle income trap. India is a developing country. Okay, so if you see here, under this concept, we have to know about what are these low income countries. Low income countries, they often transition very fast into middle income levels because they are driven by low wages, cheap labor and basic technology, etc. But whenever this middle income countries, they have to achieve this higher status, then it will be very difficult. So that trap is called as middle income trap. Okay, so that is the thing. And see this article. What WHO's recommendation for low sodium salt means for India. So as you all know that in India we will consume huge amount of salt. So here salt, what is the formula of salt? NaCl, right? Sodium chloride is called as salt chemical formula. So this Na is very dangerous because it is controlling your heart related channels in your body. So if you are taking high amounts of Na, sodium, that will lead to high blood pressure. So it is one of NCD. So whenever you are getting high blood pressure, obviously what happened, the pressure through which your heart is pumping the blood to the different parts of the body will be high. So when the pressure is high, what happened? It will damage your internal organs. Internal organs failure will happen. So that will leads to some cardiovascular disease, chronic kidney disease, etc. So even if you see, I want to give you some examples why I'm saying that Indians are eating much sodium. Because for example, if you take any pickles, even in your rice also, Indians will add salt in the rice, especially I'm talking about South Indians. Even if you're making chapatis, in that atta they will put some salt. Yes, and even in sambar everything without salt it would happen. And even if you're making some sharbat also, apart from adding sugar or something sweetening agent, they will be also adding salt. Okay, so here this article is saying that there is increased use of salt in India. So actually the recommended dose is it should be less than 2 grams per day. So now imagine how much amount of salt you are eating per a day. Okay, just normal limits is 2 grams per a day, but now actually in India we'll eat more than 5 grams per a day. And even if you take Lay's salted chips, so you can imagine how much amount of salt will be there on that. So normally why we'll use salt more, because it will be acting as a preservative agents. So we'll be using this salt for preserving that food. For example, pickles, for example, lemon will be also added salt, and that will be kept for some months onwards. So months together we can store that. So that is the reason why we'll be using salt, but it is one of the important reasons for increasing of non-communicable diseases in India. So because of this, if this article is recommending that try to take salt low. Okay, now let us see next article. more and better. So this article is talking about India needs good educational infrastructure in all districts. So here this article is talking about education. So as you all know that education is very important for everyone. So if there are no proper education infrastructure, can we ensure providing of better educational facilities for the people? No. So actually this article is talking about PG medical courses, but I am talking in overall, but I am not focusing on only PG. But if you see here in education institutions, we can divide them into primary, secondary and tertiary. Okay. So primary includes your schooling, secondary is nothing but your intermediate and your uh, like uh, like things. And next one is higher is nothing but your BTech, degree, PG, post graduation or PhD like that. So here, as you all know that access to education is very important nowadays. If you are providing education, we can ensure women empowerment. We can decrease problems like poverty, hunger, and increasing of standard of living, employment opportunities, everything. So here we need to ensure proper availability or access to these higher education institutions. So which are mainly said here. So just see about what are these higher education institutions in India, what are the problems faced by them, so what are the measures that you can suggest. And even you have to see what are the schemes of the government regarding higher education in India. Okay, now let us see the next article. Okay, so if you see the title, it says, the science is clear, crowd disasters are preventable. So this article is talking about crowd management. So recently where the stampede happened? Stampede happened in UP area in this Mahakumbh. So this article is talking about, yes, if you're following science, we can control this kind of crowd management. And you may get case studies on this for sure regarding crowd management. So be sure that you are going through these articles. So here this article is saying that recent tragedy at this Mahakumbh in India where 30 individuals lost their life. Why? Because of crowd crush. Okay, so here this article is saying that whatever the crowd disasters are happening, so most of the cases they are largely preventable. So we can prevent them. So how? The first one is we have to understand the crowd density. So if you want to manage the crowd, first we have to see the density of people in that area, how many people are there. So scientific study says that crowd density, when crowd density exceeds 5 people per square meter. So we should not ensure that in a square meter, not more than 5 people. If more than 5 people are there, there is risk of injury. And at 7 or more, the chance of severe consequences are very high. So we have to do always mathematical relation, or we have to do some calculation so that we have to ensure that within a square meter, so we have to ensure that less than 5 people are there. And second one is we have to give importance to the physical space. So whenever you are planning any venue, so you have to ensure that yes, we have to give proper space. We have to navigate through the confined spaces or bottlenecks, and we have to ensure that density should not increase rapidly because it will lead to dangerous situations. So finally we have to make proper assessments before event is commenced. And this one is global disaster case study. For example, we have to see some recent crowd disasters like Houston and Yemen. So because of that, we can understand that. So what are the issues which are there in this crowd management safety measures? So we have to learn like how event planners in the worldwide, they are preventing these future tragedies. So if they are experiencing, then they can learn from their history. And if there is next thing with your, if they are organizing any event, they will be trying to avoid that in the future. So the same way we have to learn from other countries as well. And next one here is we will be having a lot of significant issue like blaming and misconceptions. Blame the victims or label crowds are out of control. So rather than we have to focus on scientific basis for preventing of crowd crushes. So we have to make the people accountable for those who organize and plan the large events. So who are planning them, we have to make them accountable. And next one here is we have to understand the crowd behavior and we have to implement the preventive measures instead of scapegoating attendees. Like instead of blaming them, we have to take ourselves accountable for managing that events. And next one here is, this article is saying that there are very simple solutions which are exist. For example, we have to go for creating multiple entry and multiple exit points, and we have to ensure pathways remain unobstructed. So if there are any pathways, there should be not any obstruction, and so that we can improve the crowd safety. And these measures are not only effective but even relatively very inexpensive as well, so that we can make them practical for implementation across different types of events. And this one here is, we need to have regulation. So whenever we have lack of legal requirements, the crowd safety measures poses a significant problem. Okay, we need to have proper things. And next one is, government can also provide some economic incentives versus safety. So always there will be conflict between profit motive and as well as safety needs. So actually organizers, they have to maximize maximum attendance and revenue over ensuring a safe environment. So here every time whoever the organizer who is making that event, so they will be focusing on profit. So rather than that, they have to focus on providing of safe environment, so that we can develop policies, so that we can balance economic interest and as well as we can protect individuals life, so that we can balance the things. So these are the very very important article. Actually this will give you lots of insights, and this will give you like what can be done to decrease this decrease the samples, and how we can go for better crowd management. And even it gave insights regarding how other countries are managing. So if you are reading this kind of articles, you will be getting lots of insights regarding what can be done practically. Okay, so these are the some important articles that appeared in our today's Hindi newspaper. So by this I'm concluding. Thank you so much guys for watching, and please do like this class and share this class, and don't forget to subscribe to Rathod Science Academy.